Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed lunch and had a pleasant break. It's now time for part 3.1. This session will examine SDG 5, Gender Equality in STEM, with a particular focus on national and regional perspectives from Australasia, Sri Lanka, Japan, and Azerbaijan. I usually call Australia, but it's very nice to talk Australasia. I'm Youngjo, Director of the AASSA Secretariat, and I have the privilege of chairing this session. We'll begin with a perspective from Australasia. It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Francis Separovic. She is Foreign Secretary of Australian Academy of Science and Distinguished Professor Emeritus at the University of Melbourne. She is also the chair of AASSA WISE Committee. Her research in biophysical chemistry and membrane biophysics has contributed to our understanding of membrane active peptide at the atomic level. Her presentation will offer a perspective on gender equality in STEM in Australasia, highlighting progress made and challenges in that remains. She will present progression toward gender equality in STEM in Australasia. Please welcome Professor Francis Separovic.
Well, thank you very much for that very kind introduction. I've had to change my slide because as of last week, I am no longer the Foreign Secretary of the Australian Academy of Science. It was a role I enjoyed very much and held for 4 years. And I'd love to do it again, but I'm not allowed to. So I'm going to tell you mainly about Australia rather than Australasia. And I know I am talking to an audience that's already converted. We know that gender equity is important in STEM. And diversity gives us solutions and better solutions to big problems and problems that are relevant to society. So the progress is being made, but there are persistent gaps. And the structural barriers include career interruptions that are still penalised, uneven access to mentoring and sponsorship. And we know we tend to be mentor with people like ourselves. So if you've already got a lot of men in the pipeline, then the women find it harder to get mentors, but we need mentors who are men and women. Other things are things like unconscious bias in recruitment and evaluation, and we know that people write differently when they write references for women to when they write references for men. A man might be outstanding, a woman might be good, and you find out when you actually look at the CV, they're equal. And then work-based cultures are also based around a narrow conception of what a scientist looks like and how a scientific career should unfold. And I know there's a lot of other little women in the audience, and you used to find, you're little and you've got a quiet voice and things, and people ignore you, and you have to stand up and be brave and speak. But I think also those who are listening should make an effort to listen and make sure that all voices are heard. So I'm going to tell you a bit about the Australian university sector. So in the Australian university sector, according to a 2022 report commissioned by Universities Australia, we have about 40 universities in Australia. Less than a quarter of vice-chancellors are women. So vice-chancellors are like presidents of the university. And today there are about 10, which is a small increase from 2022, but not much of one. And I list here the current female vice-chancellors in Australia. And unfortunately, at the University of Melbourne, we had a woman vice-chancellor for the first time in history. The Australian University of Melbourne started in 1853, I think, and she died after a year in the job. So that was very sad. And she's being replaced by another woman from another university who was the vice-chancellor. So the numbers are staying fairly constant. So when you look, you find that women are underrepresented at the senior level. So, for example, at level A and B in Australia, we have about 63% women. Level A is like a postdoc level. Level B is a lecturer level. And then at level C is senior lecturer. Then we have level D and E. We have 19%. That's associate professor and professor. And women tend to be overrepresented in the teaching-only roles and also in the professional roles. The support staff are mainly women. And what else? 75% of provosts are women, so that's a fairly high increase. So I just wanted to consult my notes because I made some notes about what are the drivers of these different outcomes. And the research in the report that was commissioned in 22 included drivers at the organisational levels, including policies, practices and cultures at university, the narrow and rigid ways in which merit is defined and rewarded, and the gendered structures of opportunity underpinning them. And we know that people tend to favour the research-only positions over the teaching positions, but we are putting in place structures so that there's career progression in different pathways. And also the way in which teaching, research and services are distributed and accorded value in gendered ways. We tend to see women getting more of the pastoral roles, looking after the students, and the men looking at the researching. I can remember when I first started at university, and I was often at the more senior level, and I was often the only woman on the committee, and you could tell how important a committee was if there was no women on it. So, for example, the research committee, I was the only woman on it. The teaching committee, there was mainly women. And so, just different ways that things are distributed across our universities. And the culture of overwork that undermines the substantial flexibility available to academic staff and its potential to facilitate work-life balance. Academic staff have a bit more flexibility than our professional staff in their roles, and that also affects your standing. And casual staff, it's even more difficult for them. Then we have drivers at the inter-organisational level, including disciplinary norms and the importance of leadership and leaders, the central role of managers as interpreters of university policy and gatekeepers of opportunities for women, women's more limited opportunities to access informal networks, and aspects of the university environment that fuel sexual harassment. And that's rather distressing for everybody involved. And been involved in looking at some of these cases, and we've resulted in changes in how the policies are implemented. Then we have drivers at the individual and family level, where people's personal and family lives shape their work. Carer responsibilities are usually undertaken by women, and they have negative effects on opportunities for publications, obtaining grants, supervision of high-degree students, and promotion. Then we have drivers at the ecosystem level, including sectorial pressures and structures, competition and metrification. I'm not a big fan of publication metrics. Casualisation in the sector, increasingly with having people appointed on temporary appointments. And then I've got some figures up here about Category 1 grant funding. So Category 1 for us are the national competitive grants. And you can see at the Australian Research Council, we have about 2 men to 1 women getting grants, but that sort of also reflects the applications. So, of course, there are more men, but also more men tend to apply, but the success rate for the men and women is very similar. Okay, it's just that less women are applying. And then we have at the National Health and Medical Research Council, the grants that women get are less than what the men get. So the men tend to get more money and more of the grants. And the NHMRC has put it in a condition where the fellowships, because they tend to go to men, now have to be 50% go to men and 50% go to women. So there are institutions that are making changes. And then I'm going to go to my next slide, where I'm going to talk about the Australian Academy of Science. So the Australian Academy of Science has about 600 members who are elected, and we also have some foreign members or corresponding members, and they champion science for the country. And of those, we now have 132 females, so about 21%. And this graph shows the number of female fellows elected from 1985 to 2025, and we can see an increase around 2014. So I was elected in 2012, which I can't see from here. I don't know if I can point at it. About here, okay? And in 2012, I was elected. I was the first woman elected as a chemist, and so you sit on the sectional committee, which looks at the nominations, and they're all men, and you have to learn to not be intimidated and speak up. And then in 2013, the reason we're seeing a gradual increase, in 2013, 0 women were elected. There should be a dip there, but you can notice that's how we can use statistics to hide these things, right? It says 2013/14. So in 2013, there was 0. And then what happened is, in fact, the men got more outraged, I think, than the women. And so we brought in a change so that each sectional committee, if you wanted to put 3 members up for election, so the sectional committee, say chemistry is a sectional committee 3, physics, maths, okay? So you have different discipline committees. And so you could put up to 3, but you had to have more than one gender. And so we saw that as a way of possibly getting up to a third women elected in the longer term, okay? So, so you can put policies in place that do make a bit of a difference. And so I'm going to tell you about my experience. So you can tell by my surname, I was born in Croatia, and I came to Australia in 1957 as a little girl. You can see me before we left. That was me getting ready for our passport photo, because in those days you didn't have photos. You had to save up money and get a photographer, take a family photo. And I'm the pretty one. All 3 of them are gorgeous. Anyway, so we came by boat to Australia, and we came to Broken Hill in Central Australia, desert country. In fact, I used to live near this hill where they filmed Mad Max. But I know that you don't know who Mad Max is. But anyway, and so I worked and studied in Sydney, and then my career was at the University of Melbourne. And it wasn't really until after my son was born that I took up tertiary education. So what helps is being seen. And often when you're a minority, you're seen and you're judged differently. But, recognition does help. And in 2012, I think I mentioned, I was the first woman elected to the Academy as a chemist. And what we do in the Academy, we give awards. So, for example, the Nancy Millis Medal is for women only, okay? And one of the things that I've fought for was to have awards named after women for which men and women could apply. Because people tend to think, if it's named after a woman, we tend to find that more women apply, but also they have this thing that it's not as good as if men can apply as well. So we've put in place 2 awards that are named after women that both men and women can apply for. And opportunities, you have to create systems that allow women to succeed. So we've got a science in Australia, gender equity, which I'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you know about the Athena Swan Awards in the UK, it's modelled on that. And I think I've gone over time, so I better hurry. So I've got a picture here of me with my son, and I was a single mother, and after my son was born, I went to school because I wanted to give him a better life. I got a degree in maths and physics, and I went through and did a PhD. But I didn't really want to be a scientist. That was something that was there, and I was allowed to study for 1 day a week. And so I took it up and I loved it. I'm so glad that I did it. And I'm very proud here because that's the president of Croatia who came to the University of Melbourne to sign a memorandum of agreement. And to me, that was recognition by my country. I can spend 5 or 10 minutes on this, but I realise I can't. And so if you want to, you can look at the Women in STEM Decadal Plan, which has been put in place by the government over the last couple of years. And you can see the different barriers that women have at every stage of their career. And some of them, they start and they continue right through from when you're a child to when you're a senior, and that's mainly biased. There are opportunities for creating better systems, but we also need to evaluate how they are working, and the decadal plan has that. It also creates champions of change, and they are mainly men and senior industry leaders. And there was something there, yeah. So we have, the government has put in certain goals or that we would like to achieve, but they usually apply to big businesses, not to small ones. And so we need things that apply to the small to medium enterprises and put things in place for women to succeed. So we've got a mentorship scheme that's in place in the Asia Pacific region. And this is the group of two mentors and mentees from Asia Pacific, and we target different countries. And this was made possible by a $10.2 million grant from the Australian government for 5 years to put in place the regional focal point for Asia Pacific, and that's been really rewarding. So we have to keep working on these challenges. We have to share our priorities, work with people in the region, learn from different countries, including not just Asia Pacific, but right around the world to do this better. And one of the highlights of being the Foreign Secretary of the Academy was seeing the Pacific Academy of Sciences put in place. And the first picture over there on the left shows MARRIOTT from Papua New Guinea. She was elected a fellow in the first cohort. In fact, several women were. And the first cohort went in 2 years ago. Last year, the second cohort came into place. And again, women featured really well and act as role models for the region. So I just want to finish with saying that progress is happening, but it's not automatic, it's not inevitable, and we have to keep working at it with its intention, collaboration, and leadership from both our institutions, governments, and each one of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your wonderful talk. And we'll now open floor discussion. Now we will open the floor discussion, and I think we can relax. And so anyone who have a question, please raise your hand and ask freely.
Pacific Academy of Science.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
What is the jurisdiction of the academy?
so it's mainly the Pacific Island nations. So it doesn't include Australia and New Zealand, but includes Samoa. I'm not going to be able to recite them off. All the very small islands that we don't know, Tuvalu, Samoa, Vanuatu. Yeah. And although I said the Australian government helped with this, but also a Japanese foundation, a philanthropy foundation, put money into establishing it. And so they're different countries, but they work as one academy. Yeah. Yeah.
When I was president of AASSA, about 7 or 8 years ago.
Microphone. Sorry.
When I was the president of AASSA about 7 or 8 years ago, the United Nations Economic Council in Asia, and they encouraged us to include more academies, and I tried to help establish academies in Cambodia and other countries in Asia, and also in the island countries of Pacific. Okay?
Yeah, they're very small, some of them. I can remember when I went to the Commonwealth Leaders Conference, and that's when we set up the first cohort. We inaugurated the first cohort of fellows, and one of the countries had 7,000 people. So it's very hard to have an Academy of Science when you're dealing with such small countries. So by working together, they can have a voice on the world stage, I believe, and also they've applied to be a part of the Inter-Academy Partnership and hopefully AASSA. And yeah, so they've only had 2 years, and I think to join the IAP, you have to be in Academy for 2 years, and they have now. Yeah.
Is there any other questions? Then thank you for Professor Separovic.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on our next speaker, Professor Nadira Karunaweera. She is chair professor of parasitology at the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, and an honorary visiting fellow at the Harvard School of Public Health. Her research focuses on tropical disease, particularly vector-borne parasite diseases. Today, she presents gender equality in Sri Lanka, higher education through national data set. Her title is Gender Equality in Sri Lankan Higher Education, Insight from National Data Set within the SDG framework. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that kind introduction. Before I start, I would like to thank the organizers, Sohn, KAST, and the members for putting this together. And I thank everyone, including my academy, National Academy of Sciences of Sri Lanka, for giving me this opportunity to be here. Thank you. Okay, so I don't want to talk about gender equality because we have been talking, and I don't think there's anybody that needs more convincing. And we all know that it's central to the UN SDGs, particularly, and we have been talking about those from morning. In higher education, as we all know, gender equality is critical for inclusive academic environments, sustainable national development, as well as strengthening research and innovation. Sri Lanka, I am pleased to say, has made notable progress in education, yet disparities exist in gender and in academic leadership and career progression, which I will try to share with you the data. So the objective of this study was to understand the current status of gender participation in Sri Lankan higher education by analyzing student enrollment across undergraduate and postgraduate levels, academic staff representation across career stages, and to look at the trends over time using national data sets that are within the SDG framework. So the data sources that we use were Sri Lankan University statistics over the years and also National Science Foundation data. So the focus areas have been undergraduate, postgraduate enrollment by gender and academic staff distribution across ranks. So we used descriptive analysis of trends, looked at patterns in gender representation. This first figure shows the trends in undergraduate enrollment by gender from 2008 up to 2022. And as you can see, the female, if I can take the pointer, which I hope is this, yeah. No, it doesn't show. Sorry. Okay. This has? Yeah. Okay. So red is the female, the red color represent females and blue males. As you can see, undergraduate enrollment, if you look, is much higher with females when compared to males. The bar chart shows the same thing, basically, and over the years, both numbers have increased, particularly females. Now, this shows male versus female undergraduate student enrollment according to different streams. Now, this is biological sciences stream. Again, male, the light pink color, and females are red. And both, it has been more or less equal, quite close at least, the trends. And if you look at physical sciences stream, the picture is different. As we all know, males tend to predominate. There has been a slight increasing trend in females, but still the males seems to dominate this stream. Now this is at advanced level school system, student enrollment in the art stream. Males are shown in dark colors, while female in lighter shade. As you can see, the percentages are much more with females than males. In the commerce stream, it's tend to be, both genders seems to be more or less equal, while now this shows at postgraduate student research level, postgraduate. Again, the PhDs here are shown in dark color, while master's level is shown in light gray color. As you can see, there's an increasing trend. However, master's students predominates. It's more or less double or even more than the PhD levels. And if you look at females, PhDs and masters, again, the trend is the same. There are many more masters than PhDs. And if you compare these two, you can see there are many more females doing masters than males, while this is more or less, it's slightly higher in males than females, but not that high. If we look at research students by discipline, these are like different fields, as you can see, natural sciences, agriculture, engineering, and so on. There's a very prominent large numbers in social sciences and humanities, in the case of both males and females. And there has been a very prominent increase in the recent years of the particularly females. This is in teaching staff, academic staff in higher educational institutions, according to staff categories over a period of over a decade or so. Males and females in each of these categories are given at the top, starting from professor, associate professor, senior lecturer, and lecturer, males, females in different columns. At a glance, if you look, you can see at lecturer level, numbers are much larger, in particularly females. However, at senior level, the numbers drop in females when compared to males. Again, this shows the professors, males and female professors over this period. As you can see here, males are here, females in the lower bar, the lighter color. So they are much present in much larger proportions than females. This is male and female professors, the trends, male and female associate professors here. There seems to be a drop. Probably most people are applying for professorships directly from senior lecturer level. That seems to be the trend during the recent years. This is at senior lecturer level. Again, the dark color represent males, while the lighter color shows females. It's more or less equal, or at least coming closer. Here the males, these are lecturer, probationary lecturer, that is the lowest grade in academia. And males are shown in green while females are in black color. As you can see, the proportion or the percentage is much more in females when compared to males. This is probationary lecturer or lecturer level. Now let's see the National Academy of Sciences, Sri Lanka. As has been mentioned previously, in Australia, the trend is similar. There are many more males than females. Females are shown in this orange bar, while blue is males. However, the numbers, the trend of increasing seems to be more with females than males, although the numbers are still very much higher. And if we talk about presidents, over the past, it has been in existence for nearly 3 decades now, the National Academy of Sciences, Sri Lanka. And I was the second president of the academy, second woman president. So all the rest have been males. Fellows of the National Academy of Sciences, I think this trend is similar in most academies. The higher age groups tend to predominate in the academy, the fellows, mostly 65 to 74 years. So in conclusion, it could be said that student enrollment, women tend to outnumber men in several undergraduate fields, particularly in social sciences, biological sciences, and so on. Increasing female participation in postgraduate research, especially in natural and agricultural sciences, can be seen. With respect to academic staff, early career women are well represented, often outnumbering men among lecturers and assistant lecturers. Mid-career, near gender parity at senior lecturer level. However, at senior levels, women hold less than 1/3 of professor and chair professor positions. So overall, there seems to be the famous leaky or infamous leaky pipeline phenomenon. Strong female entry, but declining representation at higher academic ranks. This is just to show that attrition. So identifying the clogs barriers to advancement seems to be important because there seems to be few doctoral qualifications and limited presence, particularly in national and scientific leadership. So identifying structural challenges in career advancement seems to be the really important issue. Because overall, if you count the number of graduates or academics, there will be near representation or near equality. However, if you look deeper, there seems to be this difference. So to meet higher educational goals for equality, particularly highlighted in SDGs 4 and 5, we must do more than just count who starts. Policies need to shift focus to breaking down the barriers that stop women from reaching these higher leadership positions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for your wonderful talk. And now we start the floor discussion. Is there any? Okay.
Very nice talk, Dr. Nadira. So I'm wondering, like the leaky pipeline, where you see like almost parity at the mid-career level between women and the men, and higher up at the leadership role, you don't see that much. So is it because of the implicit biases, or maybe it's the women who don't want to take up that role of responsibility because of the other, like, domestic responsibilities?
I think that is largely the truth. I honestly don't think that there's bias in selections or anything like that, at least in our country. However, women who take those additional steps in reaching those positions are lesser, particularly probably due to the social, pressures, the expectations, the family pressures, and so on. They feel once they achieve a stable mid-career level, that's enough. So it's women itself must. That's why we feel mentoring and looking at role models would be really important for women, because they tend to stop themselves rather than the system stopping them.
Leadership role is something which is like, you have to appear for interview and nomination and all that. But what about because associate to full professor is a career progression, right?
Yes.
And it depends on like factors
They
such
have
as
to
your
apply.
productivity
Oh,
and
yeah.
your contribution to the
Correct.
field you are working on.
Oh, yes. We have to apply, and there's a big marking scheme.
Okay.
So, it's all open, transparent system. You can give your self-evaluation as well. So for that, you have to have the material to submit, right?
Yeah.
Any other
Then-
questions?
Yeah. I have microphone. Yes. Thank you very much for your informative lecture. I found your data showing that women receive more higher education in your country. Quite impressive and striking.
Yes.
What is the reason behind it?
Personally, I feel it's, we have a very high literacy rate in Sri Lanka. Overall population literacy is higher, and mothers' education seems to be fairly at high level. So in any family, as you know, a lot of family decisions are made through mothers' involvement. So mothers' educational level, I think it has had a major impact, particularly on even Sri Lankan health indices are really good. One of the best I think probably the best in South Asia.
So mothers encourage stronger their daughters to become professionals?
Yes. More than professionals,
Instead of
at least. And also government policies must be helping as well. School education up to grade 10 is a must. So it's mandatory, and it's the free education in a literal sense. You don't need to pay. So everybody has access to schooling. So access to education is also important.
Is there any other questions? This table. Okay, we should thank Professor Karunaweera. Our next speaker is Professor Yukari Ito. She is a professor and deputy director at Kavli Institute for Physics and Mathematics of the University of Tokyo. Her research focuses on quotient singularities, Crepant resolutions, and Mackay correspondence in algebraic geometry. She discussed initiatives and challenges related to gender equality in STEM in Japan. Her title is Toward Gender Equality in STEM in Japan. Please welcome Professor Yukari Ito.
So thank you for introduction, and also thank you for everyone to invite me to give a talk, chance to give a talk here. So today I want to talk about the toward gender equality in STEM in Japan. It is on the way. So I belongs to some STEM things, but today, this time, I want to introduce my experience first, but just my introduction. So I'm a mathematician, and I'm doing algebraic geometry. And I'm a professor of the University of Tokyo and the deputy director of the institute. This is just a professional work, but I also am a member of the Science Council of Japan and a member of the Vice Committee of AASSA, as you know. And the female ratio of the Science Council of Japan is 38. It's a big number, but we change, every 3 years we change the member, and it's not the academy, real academy. So we renew members, so then we can keep the number. But in general, we don't have a 38 female, for example, in STEM area. So it's very difficult to hire female members in the Science Council of Japan. But recently we changed the rule. So you can do the member again and then again. You can keep the number, but for me, it's not good news. So, and also I'm doing a president of Asian Oceanian Women in Mathematics, so I want to talk about it later. And also the professor of the Ohara Ikebana schools. So if you come to Japan, so you saw it is a traditional flower arrangement, and I started when I was an undergraduate student. But I'm teaching Ikebana also at my institute, and many postdoc and also students from other country learned about this. And also I am a mother of 2 children, but they are not so small anymore. Anyway, okay, so this is my experience, the gender balance in Japan. Well, when I was in junior high school, the female and male is 1-to-1. It's a public school. And I went to the public senior high school, but the equality is not 1-to-1, it's 2 and 3. The females are fewer. And I go to the university, it's a school of science, it's 1 times 5. Can you find the female inside? Okay, and it's a school of science. And I did Nagoya University, and I go to the University of Tokyo for graduate school of mathematics, and 1 and BS 15 means that you cannot find, it is very difficult to find a female student in a class. So this is the normal situation in mathematics society also, and the female members are only 7% of all members of Math Society of Japan. So it's very, very small number. And I want to tell you why are there so few women in mathematics in Japan. So the reason is not clear, but I want to say something. So I have some activities. So as a member of Science Council of Japan, that the ratio female and male is 1-to-2. But mathematical, I'm a chairperson of the Committee of Mathematical Education. And we wrote a recommendation to the Ministry of Education, so we will see later. And also, I am a member of the Committee of Gender Diversity in STEM. And we wrote also a recommendation to public and toward gender equality and equity in social and academia. And it's a challenge for 2030. And also as a president of Asian Oceanian Women in Mathematics, so it is very important to make a networking, and also networking and event for women in mathematics. So we can make a conference, but we don't have to talk about not only mathematics. So we have some networking time and also event only for women in mathematics to empower the women in mathematics. So I want to talk about these 3 topics today. And first one is the STEM education in Japan. So it depends on it based on my recommendation to Ministry of Education from Committee of Mathematical Education. So please see this. This is the result of the PISA test. So this is the international student assessment. So you can see the Japan is at top level here. So the Japanese student at age 15, they are good at STEM, so math and reading and science. So they're very good and almost top. Then we can do mathematics. Everyone can good at STEM, mathematics in some sense. But only 20% students go to STEM area. So it not include medical part. So it only science and technology and engineer is mathematics. So only it is for all students, not only for females. So this is 20% is going to the STEM area at the university. And if you see the women's part, only 7% female students go to STEM in Japan. It is same as 7% of the female of the math society. So then we cannot create more numbers. So it is a number of the student, graduate student. So why? So the problem, there are some problems. Many people are trying to understand or want to know the reason why there are so few women in STEM area, also in mathematics. So they are good at mathematics at 15 years old, and they can do mathematics and also science and engineering, but there is a potential is not adequately translated into choice of higher education to career path. So we need to change the education system and the social attitude and the process of career decision making. So the social attitude is the most serious problem in Japan, I think. And also maybe in Korea, you had the same problem before, but they already proved something. Anyway, so we want to try to do something for this. So the recommendation to Ministry of Education, we gave ideas for the change of this situation. So it is important that the student be provided with information about the diverse opportunity available to them. So in Japan, we use the same textbook and the same curriculum all over Japan. That means everyone can learn same things at same age, but it's not depend on the person. So if you are good at math, so school is boring. And if you are not good at math, so school is too hard and so on. So we have to make a more choice for students. And on the other hand, so we have to have more mathematical events or summer schools, and mathematics in science museum and a web page on mathematics should be needed. And if we go to the science museum in Japan, we don't have almost no exhibition on mathematics. So we want to have more mathematical exhibition, and I asked the Ministry of Education, also Science Museum. And nowadays they try to make a math exhibition now. So this is one step to the some change of this situation. And next, I want to talk about the gender diversity in STEM in Japan. So in general, in STEM area, there are very few women, but the gender equality and equity should be systematically realized in human resource development across the field. So this recommendation is written in not only STEM area person, and also the humanity and also literature person also write it, and also legal person also write it. And we want to increase the ratio of women enrollment in university and graduate school, also some companies also. And also want to raise the proportion of female students and faculty members. So we want to get more female students first, and also we want to need more faculty members. And also we want to enhance the representation of women in senior positions and the decision-making bodies across the field. So the number of the faculty, female faculty is a little bit increasing, but we have very few professors in general. But the professor decide many things in the university. So we need more female to decide many things. So and to change many things. So we want to hire more female positions. But nowadays there are some special hirement only for women position and so on. But it's a little bit difficult to continue. So we have to have a more natural way to make number of the female professors and so on. So the urgent measures should be taken for so addressing gender bias. So gender bias, it is a more serious problem, but you have to tell people there is a gender bias. So these kind of things are gender bias, so we have to tell. And the further strength implementation of the position actions, positive actions. So I told there is a female-only position. It is a kind of the first step to improve the number of the female faculties, but maybe we have to take care of the people after that, but the positive action is also important as the first step. And establishing harassment-free research environment that supports work-life balance, because not only for female, but the child care has a very heavy work for, in general, for women, and also we can take care of some families and so on. So everyone should have helped, and work-life balance is important. And also we have to provide a targeted support for women facing difficulties. So highly competitive employment environments with fixed term and so on. So the fixed term person has a difficulty. So you have to have a good result, but in short time is very difficult. But if you have some help, then you can do it more and so on. So this is a second topics, and I want to talk about the networking of women in STEM. So I am, as I told you, so I am a president of the Asian Oceanian Women in Mathematics. We call it AOWM, and it is very new, and it was established in 2022, very recently, as an organization of women in mathematics in Asia and Oceania. And there were many other women's associations in the United States and Europe and also Africa and South Asia. And the Asian one is the most younger one. But now it contains 21 regions. You can see the Australia, China, and so on. So it's a very big number. But if we were in Europe, the next country, you can go by train. But you cannot go by train to the other country. In Asia case, you have to fly and so on. So it costs more, but it's very difficult. So the moving and visiting each other is very difficult in general. So we have to have we want to have a conference, but we have to organize something different from European and American one. So empower women in mathematics, we need a network between women in mathematics also. So if we were in Japan and Korea and India, so female is a fewer. But if you go to Thailand and the Philippines, the female is a major. So the situation is different, but we can learn each other how to encourage and to continue the work and so on. So in this kind of things, so we need a network between women in mathematics. And also sometimes we need a mentoring, but we are very far away, and also that depend on the country. So we have an online mentoring program in each country. In each country it's important because the cultural background is completely different. So online mentoring program will be just started a little bit. So each country has a different problem for women, but we can share and get ideas from other countries, and it is difficult to visit other countries. So we need to fly and so on, but we can organize something like that. And also in mathematics, so there is a big community of mathematicians in the world. It's called the International Mathematical Union. And we will have the ICM next year in the United States. And it's under this ICM, we have International Mathematical Union has a special section for women, so Committee for CWM, Committee for Women in Mathematics. And they organize a special event once a year. It's May 12. So May 12 is a global event for women in mathematics to honor the birthday of a mathematician, Maria Mirzahani. She is from Iran. And she is the first female fields medalist. But unfortunately, she died at 40 years old. But there was a film on Maria Mirzahani with subtitle of several languages. So May 12 is her birthday. And we made an event every year all over the world in each country or each small department. We organize something for women in mathematics. And if you go to the May 12, if you Google May 12, you can see the webpage of May 12, and you can have a word map, and there are many points which has an event for this. And this year we have more than, I don't remember the number, but there are many events, and you can see which country has such an event. And also there is a film about Maria Mirzahani, and it was made in the United States, and it was English in original one is English, but it was added subtitle in several languages. Then I also contribute to make Japanese subtitles, and now we have, you see, Arabic, Chinese, English, Greek, French, Japanese, Italian, Persian, Portuguese, Spanish, and Turkish. And the Korean is now under, so they will be come soon. So, but it costs a little bit. So, but it's very nice film. So it is, I didn't write the name of the title, but if you can Google Maria Mirzahani or Secret of Surfaces, you can find the webpage and you can download it. Okay. So this is a good, and when she studied in Iran, and she went to the United States to get PhD and become a good, great mathematician. And this year, there was a worldwide project on French film, Sophie Germain. It's a story about Sophie Germain. And it's a very short movie in 15 minutes. And we asked the many people to put a subtitle on this web page. And nowadays, there's AI. So AI can give a very easy translations, and we can change a little bit and a more correct way. Then it takes only 1 month. We got the 17 language subtitles. And it's a very nice communication between other countries, people, and so on. And it was given by a volunteer of female mathematicians in several countries. It was a nice combination of the worldwide project. And in Asian and Oceanian, we make a message board for young mathematicians. And today I brought one of them, one piece, and we still continue these things. And we wrote a message to young mathematicians. And at this moment, we have a message from China, India, Indonesia, Iran, and so on. So we have we have several country messages, but it's only for mathematics, have fun mathematics and so on. So it's very good for, not only for female and so on. So maybe you can see it, on your table. So finally, we are in, so thank you for attention. So this is my last slide, and I'm now a member of building committee of ICM. So we want to have an International Congress of Mathematics in Tokyo in 2030, and we are preparing for this. And we have vote this July and decided the next place. So I have to win this part. Yeah, thank you for very much.
Oh, thank you for Professor Ito for your wonderful talk. And one nice thing to announce is our session is until 2 to 3, and the last speaker do not join us. So I think we finish in right time. But anyway, we want to have a free flow discussion. So, 마이크 좀 주시겠어요?
마이크.
usually the university enrollment, okay, becomes equal to boys and girls, especially in developed countries. But Japan is highly developed countries, but I see from your table that boys and girls university enrollment is quite
different.
Why?
Right. So we don't know the reason why I just love mathematics and I go to the university. That's the reasons. I think many boys are same reason why they go to the mathematics department. But I met some women, not in mathematics. They said, I had a friend, she is good at mathematics, but she was rejected by their teacher, so you don't have to go to math department and so on. This kind of gender bias and also some cultural.
What I'm saying is not particularly in mathematics majors.
No, totally, yeah.
Because in Korea, it's a usual practice, long time. When I was a young boy, it's usual in Korea. Okay, if your family cannot support all the children, then you support boys first. Okay, sacrifice the girls. No? But in Japan,
I say same still.
And in Korea, it's about even now, right now. I can't understand.
Yeah.
So is there any other questions? Then I will have something to say. Because 30 years ago, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese statisticians, we have several meetings together. 30 years ago, no woman in Japan side, Korean side, and one or two in China, Peking University. And I always thought, because of mathematician and statistics, is like if you have biostatistics, we have many women, but mathematics and those things is too dry science, so that female may not come. Okay, that's the way I thought. And I always thought Japan is in some sense advancing very fast. And then right now in my department, we have 30 years ago we have no female professor, but now 30% is female. Okay, faculty. So the previous chairman was the woman too. Huh? So it sounds like Japanese is respecting tradition. They keep the same way, okay? Is that the reason you don't change?
Yeah, we try to say to the female student to continue your mathematics if you like. Yeah, just one word is important at the beginning, and also push to go to the graduate school and so on.
Yeah, and right now, I think my department, 50% is now female. Okay.
Yeah, I have
so
to
I think
report
we'll
to
converge
in
to
Japan
half and
about
half. But
yes.
Japan go a little slowly, but they got a tradition of respecting tradition. So I don't know why that happened. I thought Japan is always leading us, but now Korean is more advanced in the
from other countries.
gender equity. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And now, our next section will continue at 3:30 here. And so please have a coffee break and come back 3:30. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, now this is a long-awaited last session. Our first speaker is Dr. Aliya Naheed. Yes. She is a senior scientist at the International Center for Diarrhoeal Disease Research, and also she represents the BASS, Bangladesh Academy of Science.
Okay, great. So, respected chair and colleagues and dignitaries, it is a great pleasure. But before you start, I want to give you a big best wish of me and, of course, all the Muslims, like Eid Mubarak. Today is the Eid al-Azha day, that the big celebration happening, at least in my country and many other countries.
So I couldn't be there with my family, but I'm here with you. So it's a great moment, and it's also make it memorable for me, this fourth symposium. So am I audible clearly? Okay, great, thank you. So of course, this is a great privilege, and thanks to AASSA, IAP, and of course, Korean Academy of Science and Technology, who have put together the 5th KAST International Symposium and 4th AASSA-wide Symposium. And my privilege to present a topic on the present and the future of the aging population in terms of health, and I will focus mostly on Asia. The question is, who cares? Before I go into the talk, I just want to ask you, do you know what is the proportion of aging population in the world? Who knows? 40%? Let's see, that we need to know what is the global population. Yes. So aging population is defined as anyone at 60 years or older is aging. So I'm going to join the club next month. So this is a very topic close to my heart. And so if you want to know what is the proportion of aging population, we need to know what is the global population, world population. Just yesterday, 27 May 2026, according to United Nations estimate, the world was actually holding more than 8 billion people right now. And the trajectory of the older people is going faster. In general, it is about 10% globally. But if you look at the numbers coming from very 30 years back, 35 years back, in 1990, when it was 0.5 billion, means half a billion, in trajectory now we are close to 2030, which is the end of the SDG goals. And it is projected that the older people will constitute about 1.4 billion people of the world. And by 2050, the number will be just double, almost 2.1 billion. And if you look at the map, you will see the dark color countries where the older population comprises of more than 30% of the entire population. The light yellow color, blue color shows the older population comprises more than 10% but less than 30%. So if you look at the Americas and Asia's, Europe and Australia, you really don't see this number is going down. So the number is increasing. Okay. So, I don't know whether this is good news or a bad news, but what are the countries actually contributing to this number? It is very difficult to get this number right, but according to Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, in their GBD studies, 15 countries have been attributing to this aging population. And according to their projection in 2026, China, India, and United States, these 3 countries actually are the top contributor, and there are, out of 15 countries, there are 8 countries coming from Asia. By 2050, so many countries will have some improvement, but this China, India, United States, these are very large countries. Their status will be similar. They will be topping among all 15. But some countries will have better conditions, such as Japan, Brazil, and Mexico. They will have some reduction of number but in the population. But other countries will have a rise in the population. A country like Bangladesh, a very small country in South Asia, at the moment, the estimate suggests that 19.3 million people older than 60 years are living in the country. But in 2050, almost 25 years after, the country will have more than 42 million people who are older than 60 years. And the number is much bigger than the Pakistan, which is a much bigger country and more people there, and also close to Russian Federation, which is really, really big country. So it doesn't matter how small the country is, it is a trajectory of population which is constituting aging population. It is actually big news for WHO also. If you look at the graph, so what is the trajectory from now to 2050? Which region is having the more people? It is again Western Pacific, South East Asia, they will be contributing to global population. And Southeast Asia alone will have a number from 270 million to 534 million. That means more than a double. So this is a real concern in terms of number the world is going to hold. And in this number of growing population in older age, it is the Asia. Out of 2.1 billion to be projected in 2050, it is Asia who will contribute to 1.3 billion. Still the estimates, we don't know. It may go up, it may go down. But population growth for people older than 65 years is moving at a faster rate than the general population growth in Asia. If you look at this trajectory, so this actually shifts the demographic structure of the world. So it says that people in the world is living longer. That's a great news. Traditionally, children under 5 years, it creates the longer base, and it is the older people who comes as a fewer number, it becomes a conical shape as a pyramid. That pyramid is no more here. But in 2060, according to IPMU projection, under 5 children, a number will be similar to the number of older age population, like people like us who belong to the club. And by 2050, out of 2.1 billion world population, 22% of them will be older age. So what is the problem? People are living longer, so this is great news because of advancement of health, economy, and maybe education and technology, people are living longer. But the problem is, older age people have limitation, according to the estimate. So in 2024, a person older than 65 years is dependent on 6 working age group people. That means 6 working age group is taking care of 1 older person. But in the future, in 2050, it will be more than 3 people will be available to care of this aging population. And this aging population, they generally do not have their earning, or there are very little safety net at the national level in many countries. So it actually touches the savings of family and also cannot be sufficient for older people. So this major demographic shift actually put challenges to health, social, and economies as well. Because of this aging, there are diseases, particularly non-communicable disease that is growing up. You know that now out of 100 deaths, 70 deaths are attributable non-communicable diseases. And now it is no more only the disease, it's the mental health, the depression, those are also adding burden. And it creates a huge pressure on the health systems, and people are paying up from their pocket, particularly in the low and middle income countries. And there's a huge caregiver burden, and there is amazing financial insecurity in the families. And moreover, the number of working age group that is between 15 to 65 years is actually going down. So it is hard to just demonstrate what is happening globally, but it is easier to look at a country level than see what is happening. So which is a case study I will present in Bangladesh, which is not different from many countries. Bangladesh is a small country, but it holds about 172 million people. And working age population is increasing very fast, from 54% 2001 to almost 62% 2022. But the overall population annual growth rate is being surpassed by the older age population growth, which is 3.5%. That means the number of aging population going very fast. That means that the people older age, they are actually having a longer life. But what is happening with this? It doesn't come for free. There are many health conditions arising, particularly non-communicable diseases. Whereas in the national statistics suggest out of 4 people, 1 of them have hypertension. Now almost 1 out of 2, that is almost more than 42% having hypertension. And if you look at the depression of people at the national level, it is 1 in 16 people have depression. But when it counts the number at the older people, it is more than 60%. That means out of 4, out of 5, 3 people are suffering from depression. And diabetes, dementia, these are just example of some of the conditions that is going up. But the problem is these burden is not equal across sex. It is the women who are suffering more than from females. So let me take an example, like dementia is one of the burden in Bangladesh, that 1 out of 12 people suffer from dementia. And it is a female who suffers more, almost to more than 2%. And of course, old age, it adds to more dementia cases to the population. But it was found that people who do not have education, they are 3 times at a risk of dementia. But if you look at the trajectory, in 2025, the number of old age is about 17 million, and we estimated it is about 1.3 million dementia cases already living in the country. But if you look at the projection of 2051, there will be more than 42 million people of more than 60 years, and almost 3.4 million people will be having dementia. So it is one of the estimates of a lower burden of NCD across many NCDs. But if this is the case of dementia, you can just calculate in your head what will be the huge number if we add all the disease conditions. But it is not only the disease. These people, these older age people, also have huge behavioral risk, which surpasses the national statistics. Like about more than 40% are physically inactive because of the aging. They have bad behavior like smoking, putting extra salt in food, and they don't take fruits and vegetables adequately. And that increases the metabolic risk. Like 1 out of 3 people actually have a high metabolic risk. Like 1 out of 3 have either obesity or raised blood pressure. But what do the people do? Do they really seek care? Actually, they do seek care. But where they go to the next door drug seller because that are cheaper, they are nearby. And the government has a system of providing free treatment for everyone. But older people don't go there. Less than 1 out of 5 people will go to seek care at the government facility, which is offered for free. But either they go to the drug outlet where there is no physician, these are quack, or they go to some clinic next door, which is very expensive, and that costs tremendous cost to the family. But how they get those costs for the treatment? They don't have job. Mostly it is found that people mostly depend on their either income or their children or spouse. But the picture again differs between male and female. Among males, majority actually finds a way to pay for their treatment from their savings, or they're from earning. 30% people still earn, even they're older people. But for female, the situation totally different. More than 80% women, they depend on their children or their husband. They have very little means to earn. That means they are totally at the mercy of family members to get any health care. And not only that, the reason is catastrophic health cost. So in the country like Bangladesh, 3% treatment costs are coming from out of pocket of a person. And the cost of NCD treatment is more than 2 to 4 times higher than a treatment with an acute condition or infectious disease condition. And if there's a family where there's one family member is suffering from one of the non-communicable disease, that family will face catastrophic 42% of the family will face catastrophic costs. That means they will go into impoverishment. So this is the traditional model that when someone gets sick, we give treatment. That is still the model for people and older people or depend on that. When someone identifies a sickness, only they are brought to health facility. But this is the very different time. We have to redefine our paradigm, and we have to move from clinical care to be holistic care, and people should have holistic care support at the environment where they are living. So who cares? That was the question I started with. It is not a very good picture that people, and particularly low and middle income countries, they get good care at their older age, but there are good examples in many developing countries and developed countries. Like Singapore is one of the countries where they actually give access and housing for fall prevention for older people. Japan, I think Yukari would know better. Japan has a program for social infrastructure that involves community activities, connection, and cognitive therapy is also supported. And Thailand, that has a comprehensive program with health, social, and legal support, and they are all focused on the older population. One of the great examples was Turkey. Turkey had a strategic framework for healthy aging, and age-friendly environments are put as an upfront investment for prevention of mental health and physical burden of health in older age people. But healthy aging is not an easy concept. It is a very complex one. It is as complex as this graph. So WHO is actually identified and prioritized healthy aging agenda over the last few years. And for the path of healthy aging, the target is we cannot wait till someone is growing old and then think of healthy aging. This healthy aging program should start earlier when people are younger at their age. The environment has to be positive and favorable to provide health support, and they're improving functional ability with good care when people are at a younger age, starting adolescent, young adulthood. They should be supported with health and other supportive care so that they can maintain a good functional health in their midlife with good capability for being productivity. And that continues with other social and safety net support in the later life when people don't have funding for supporting themselves. And WHO is actually recommended several strategic goals and actionable goals. And Asian Development Bank actually has taken a big project on healthy aging in many countries in Asia. WHO also has recommended 8 domains of age-friendly city. That is being a new concept that cities should actually think about aging people, so make it environment should be made conducive for older people. But the problem is all these domains, each of these domains is important and they should work as a comprehensive and holistic way. One pillar is not functioning means other pillars are being compromised. So this is a complex thing. So it needs to be started now because everybody will get old, whether we are productive or no. Everybody will get old, and aged people should not be considered as a burden. How we can convert them to the productivity and economic benefit, that is the main concern. And if healthy aging is promoted, it actually catalyzes many sustainable development goals. By providing health to them, it supports the SDG 3 and also reduce premature mortality for people younger than 70 years. And by offering good health, it can reduce the out-of-pocket cost and prevent catastrophic health costs, which can actually target SDG 1. And finally, the inequitability. So I already have given a little bit of statistics that females suffer more, and they also have a less access to financial capacity to support for their health. So these inequities can be also addressed under SDG 10. So what is healthy aging thinking of? Healthy aging is not just about living longer. It is all about living with a social, physical, emotional independence in late life. So I think this is not, we shouldn't talk about this as a topic. I think healthy aging should be a part of all the SDGs work, doesn't matter, even a STEM. So even we, the scientists, we are not enjoying a healthy life. How can you continue your mentorship, continue your productivity? And I was listening to Nadira that women are dropping off from their career at later age. Can it not be aging and not be bad health? Because women are traditionally being deprived of getting their health. So this is a picture, we look for this, like a husband and wife walking in a park, and they're trying to do some physical exercise. But if you do that, this is against the norm of the society. But this is the picture we want to see in every home so that we have healthy aging. Thank you very much. If someone has any question, I'll be very happy to communicate with you later.
Thank you, Aliya. Any questions?
Or later on? Oh,
Maybe, yeah.
Nadira. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Nadira.
Thank you for that interesting talk. My question is, as you quite correctly pointed out, health issues related to aging can be quite different from other age groups. My question is, how much attention do we make as nations to promote the field of geriatrics? In Sri Lanka, I think we started focusing on that probably about a decade back, but still it is in its infancy. The growth has been very slow. So it is not a very popular field, although it's a huge issue. Aging is a huge issue in Sri Lanka. So we know that pediatrics is very well established and other fields as well. But geriatrics, it's a different field. I just want to get a feel of what Bangladesh is.
I mean, actually, you in your word identified the problem. You said geriatric. This is a clinical word. So now health has been looked at very clinically, like pediatric means and geriatric. So when someone's getting sick, only then they get treatment. So this is very clinical view. So this has been in medical science and public health for many years. So now what you just mentioned, it is a common picture everywhere. So prevention or community-based healthy living, even children or old young adults, adolescents, that has not been a priority for many years. But in the recent year, so there has been economic evaluation that spending in preventive care by the government is much cheaper than investing in clinical care for people forever, because in non-communicable disease is a life course disease. So as long as people live, that cost of care will go up. So prevention, primary care like healthy eating, physical activity, stress reduction, good mental health, and building a healthy environment for people to live a life, even from a young life, it has to be a habit. It doesn't just change people overnight or over a year or two. It should be a program. Say, for example, school health program can be best entry point, and people become used to having healthy living and healthy lifestyle that will ultimately reduce a lot of risk for developing NCD risk factors. And when you say geriatric, this is one of the areas that people still think when older people actually getting sick, they get treatment. But unfortunately, in a country like Bangladesh, older people are not even address their health. When it's only serious, people, and someone is there at the home who can take the person to a clinic or hospital, only then they get attention. So it is, and more of that, the society is actually does not respect older people in general because they don't have economic power anymore. And they also feel very shaky and hesitant to talk about their own health and need of a care. So this is how this situation is very bad. And second, geriatric care is still, like medicine branch has not developed so good. Yes, we are doing very good internal medicine. I think many countries is like that. Internal medicine is very good, but geriatric care has a different need. It is not only that you're treating the disease; you have to treat the whole person. And mental health is when depression is one of the biggest stressor that increases cortisol in the body, and that change the whole spectrum of disease and risk in an individual. So this is again like the word we want to say holistic approach, just not only looking at the disease itself, but looking at the overall health. If that can be promoted, I think geriatric care will be a better discipline to support older people.
Aliya, very nice overview about the health SDG goals. So I'm wondering, like you mentioned, like women are more prone to dementia, right?
Yeah.
So is it like because of the nutritional deficiency? Is there any program where they're monitoring the B12 level or like iron level in the women? Because it all start during when they are like, middle aged, right? Maybe adolescent or middle age, like depending on the food habits, B12 many times you see lower in women. Yeah. Right.
So, very good observation, and it's very interesting. When we did the study in Bangladesh, it was a national level dementia risk assessment and prevention model. So, what we found, dementia is equally prevalent in people who are poor or rich. Even they have nutritional status different, it doesn't matter, they have dementia. So still, we don't know exactly what is the main risk, but what we found that the cognitive reserve during the when the people are growing older or becoming adult and they're going to later stage, the cognitive reserve, like what they can memorize, it is affected. And what we found that people are with low education, their cognitive reserve is very limited. That means education, analysis or reading or active social life, that probably actually helps to keep people from dementia. And in our societies, the men are very active, even in their older age. They either work or they socialize, they go out. But women are very homebound. This may be one of the reasons, and female are traditionally less educated. So that may be one of the reasons. But other things, we cannot avoid that because of the reproductive age. Most of the women have to go to reproductive age, and they have micronutrient deficiency for a longer term. And we have so many vitamin D12 deficiency disease like spina bifida, this defect, neural tube defect in the newborn because of mother has deficiency of vitamin B12. Yeah, so this is why there may be many, nutrition may be one issue, but it's not the only thing. So we still don't know, there's still genomic research going on, what is the reason. But one thing that we found is triggers dementia and also Alzheimer is stroke. So every person have little stroke over the time. And what we have seen, it is the males who actually go for care, but women don't. So those are many sectors can come.
I think this is a very profound topic that we can discuss with more time, maybe over the dinner. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Aliya. Yeah, let's go for the next one. Yeah. Shall we move to the next topic? Choose the pre-recorded video.
Dear colleagues, the topic of my seminar is Advanced Biosensor Technologies Developed by Sustainable Materials with Applications. Before starting my seminar, I would like to thank the organizing committee, the Korean Academy of Science and Technology, for their kind invitation, and also the Association of Academies and Societies of Sciences in Asia, and Inter-Academy Partnership for their kind invitation and support, especially the National Organizing Committee. This special thanks to Sohn for their valuable support and effort to make this symposium a success. In the next few sections, I will present some of our recent works on development of advanced biosensor technologies by using sustainable eco-friendly materials with their applications. Regulations and contemporary trends have led to a rise in demand for sustainable materials. Sustainable development endeavors are greatly aided by the importance, abundance, and decreased toxicity and economic feasibility of green materials. Eco-friendly products is known as products don't harm the nature in all production stage, don't contain any chemicals, any additives harmful to nature or human health. What are the general applications of eco-friendly materials in the biomedical field? Development of medical devices, we can see eco-friendly materials, and also for development of drug delivery systems and in the area of tissue engineering, as well as for the design and development of biodegradable packing, and also biosensors development. We can see the usage of the eco-friendly materials. The adaptation of eco-friendly materials in biomedical field not only improves the patient outcomes and healthcare quality, but also supports environmental conservation and sustainability efforts. Let's look at the definition of biosensor. Biosensors is a device that incorporates a biologically active layer at the surface as a recognition element and it converts the physical parameters of a specific biological interaction into measurable analytical signal. The biorecognition part could be enzyme, antibody receptor, DNA, microRNA, or aptamer. Transducer could be electrochemical, optical, or piezoelectrical. A sustainable biosensor is designed across the whole pathway, from the material selection to validation for final signal readout. There are 5 main steps as material selection, surface engineering, bioreceptor immobilization, signal transduction, and validation on this pathway. If you look at the advancement in eco-friendly biosensor technology, there are many types of eco-friendly materials, such as polymer composites, plasma polymerized coatings procedure, functional polymer films, as well as different types of algs, with due to their natural properties, especially due to their unique capabilities, in order to provide selective and sensitive biosensors with sustainability goals. If we look at the advantages of eco-friendly biosensors, the use of bioderived and biological materials contributes to an eco-friendly approach, minimizing environmental impact. Greener strategies are often more economical and potentially reducing the overall cost of biosensor fabrications. The critical need for maintaining the purity of nanoscale materials is effectively addressed by green fabrication strategies, which minimize the risk of impurities and contaminants in the area of biomedical food and environmental applications. Eco-friendly biosensors contributes to circular economy by being cost-effective, energy efficient, and disposable, recyclable, or repurposed, aligning with sustainable practices. In the first study that I'm going to present, we developed in our research group the AASSA sensor for specific detection of botulinum mycotoxin. This AASSA sensor was developed by using Levan modification on the graphite electrode surface. Then this optimized AASSA sensor was applied for monitoring of botulinum in food and biological fluids. Why we choose Levan? Levan is fructose containing homopolysaccharide produced by various microorganisms and plants. Since it is unique properties such as biocompatible, biodegradable, flexible, and environmental friendly, we prefer to modify the electrode surface using these homopolysaccharide in order to obtain the larger surface area for more binding of biomolecules on the electrode surface to increase the sensitivity. In addition, Levan has important properties such as antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-carcinogenic. And the target of the sensor is patulin. Patulin is a mycotoxin produced by fungi, and it is first isolated from Penicillium patulum in 1943. Penicillium expansum and Penicillium patulum are the most important ones to be screened for food security. In order to obtain the high affinity of the biosensor to target patulin, we use the specific biomolecule aptamer, that is short single nucleic acid DNA sequences. It is prepared by SELEX procedure in order to obtain the patulin detection in high sensitivity and selectivity. If you look at the experimental procedure that we followed in our study, first we performed the level modification on the electrode surface, then aptamer immobilization was performed. In the case of aptamer-patulin interaction, before and after this biointeraction process, we measure the charge transfer resistance value by using electrochemical impedance spectroscopy technique. In order to optimize experimental condition, aptamer concentration, aptamer immobilization time, and patulin interaction time with aptamer was tested in different values, and the optimized conditions were investigated for further experiments. Under the optimized conditions, the Nyquist diagram was obtained at increasing patulin concentration. In the wide concentration, wide linear concentration range of patulin, and the limit of detection, LOD values of patulin was calculated in buffer medium, in apple juice sample, and also in biological fluid sample. For testing the selectivity of patulin of the sensor in the presence of other mycotoxins such as ochratoxin A, fumonicin B, and deoxynivalenol, we performed a batch of experiments, and the highest RC2 value was recorded in the case of patulin aptamer interaction. We obtained the high increase RC2 at RC2 value in contrast to other cases. It provides the high affinity was due to the high affinity of DNA aptamer to its cognate target, that is patulin, is occurred at the electrode surface, so that the patulin detection was performed in a high sensitivity and selectivity by developed Levan modified impedometric optosensor in this study. In the second study, we aim to develop lignin modified single-use graphite electrodes in order to detect DNA and anti-cancer drug and also biointeraction process between DNA and mitosin C. The traditional electrochemical sensors often lack eco-friendly and highly sensitive and cost-effective matrix materials. Because of this reason, we aim to use lignin as the development of eco-friendly biosensor for monitoring of nucleic acids, as well as the chemotherapeutic agents like mitosin C and their biointeraction process. Why we choose mitosin C? Because mitosin C interacts with DNA via cross-linking with DNA guanine bases. And we aim to develop eco-friendly biosensors in order to rapid low-cost screening of drug-DNA interaction that is critical for not only for drug development, but also dosage adjustment and pharmacokinetic studies. Experimental procedure. Firstly, we prepared the lignin-modified electrodes. Then the activation with EDC NHS agent was followed. Then the DNA or mitosin C immobilization on the lignin-modified electrode surface was followed. After the optimization of experimental conditions, the biointeraction process of DNA with mitosin C was performed. The electrochemical determination of DNA or mitosin C and also biointeraction process was performed by using differential pulse voltammetry in combination with measurement of redox probe signal. Under the experimental conditions, by following different experimental parameters such as DNA concentration, mitosin C concentration, and interaction time, we optimize the experimental conditions, and under the optimized conditions, we performed biointeraction process that is occurred between DNA and mitosin C. Before presenting these data, we can talk about the analytical performance of the lignin-based biosensors in aspects of the DNA detection as well as the mitosin C detection using voltammetric technique. In various concentration of DNA and also mitosin C in different immobilization in different biomolecule in the same immobilization time, we obtain the limit of detection value for DNA and mitosin C in different batch of experiments by measuring the decrease at redox probe signal. After the optimization of the experimental conditions, a batch of experiments was performed in different interaction time between DNA and mitomycin C. Here you can see the voltomograms that is presenting the redox probe signal, the decrease at the redox probe signal. The reduction electron transfer decrease at the current is attributed to covalent cross-linking of mitomycin C to guanine bases of DNA. Similarly, when we perform the same experimental procedure by following the electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, the highest RC2 value was recorded at 30 minutes interaction time. And for the single frequency impedance analysis is also performed by measuring the change in impedance and change in phase angle. And when the change in impedance increasing, we obtained a decrease at the phase angle. The voltammetric and impedometric results are found in a good agreement according to these data. For the future directions, we can say that the integration of eco-friendly materials and innovative biosensing technologies holds great promise for monitoring of environmental and health risks. Continued research and development in this field will drive the advancement of sustainable biosensor platforms for different applications, including the eco-friendly strategies in wearable biosensors. Before ending my seminar, I would like to thank to my research team at Nanobioscience Lab in McGill University, my master and PhD students who involved these studies, these projects for their technical and scientific contribution, as well as the national and international organization for their valuable support and grants that we obtained. Of course, I would like to thank again organizing committee in KAST, AASSA, and inter-academic partnership, and also TÜBA, Turkish Academy of Sciences, for their valuable support and kind invitation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Arzum. I thought she was making a connection via Zoom, but apparently this was a pre-recorded video. So let me invite our third speaker, Natalia Varlamova. Yes, Associate Professor at Far Eastern State Transport University. Also, she represents Russian Academy of Sciences.
Good afternoon for all. My name is Natalia Varlamova. Thank you for your attention. I come from Russia and represent the Russian Academy of Sciences. And please let me today tell you a few words about the development of some alternative energy sources. One of the activity development areas of global energy is development of geothermal sources. Over the past 15 years, the installed capacity of the world geothermal power plants has increased by more than sevenfold. The direct use of thermal waters for heating residential and industrial premise is also growing, and geothermal fluids are attending attention as a source of valuable chemical components and compounds. Currently, Russia's share of global geothermal energy production is only 0.5%, and in the direct use only 0.4%. However, interest from the real economy is growing, and there are some developments that could serve as a basis for developing the scientific and technical foundation for implementing geothermal projects. The largest geothermal energy facilities in the Russian Federation are of the Mutnovsky geothermal power plants located in Kamchatka. The Mutnovsky geothermal power plants account the approximately 90% of domestic electricity generation from geothermal resources. These plants are powered by Mutnovsky geothermal field, whose production wells operate in steam lift mode, with the coolant transported through pipelines as a steam-water mixture. Many years of domestic and international experience operating geothermal fields transporting fluids in the form of steam water mixture has related a number of problems for which there is currently no universal solution. Almost every problem leads to the same outcome: instability in the geothermal fluid production and transportation system, which unlimitedly leads to the well being taken out of operation. One of the most difficult problems in the development of geothermal resources is the study in the geothermal reservoir and the process occurring in it. In this, where geophysical survey methods come in handy. Well-bore survey methods occupy a special niche among these methods, allowing for the determination of parameters directly in the reservoir production formations. However, for high-temperature fields with temperatures exceeding 150 of Celsius and producing a steam water mixture as a surface, which in Russia are found only in Far East, direct measurements, even in the inactive well, require considerable effort. Furthermore, surveys in an active well are extremely complex. Flow velocities at the wellhead reach several hundred meters per second, and the density of the medium is several times greater than the density of the gas phase. Such measurements are very rare in practice worldwide. A simple and inexpensive way to determine the downhole parameters of an operating well is to calculate them based on wellhead measurements. This calculation is challenging for high-temperature fields due to the presence for over two-phase flow section, which is a wide range of steam quality levels from 0 to 99% by volume. Currently, there are numerous recommendations for calculating the downhole parameters on an operating steam water well. The modern approach is based on mathematical modeling of hydrodynamic and thermodynamic processes in a wellbore. The models are based on integral equations for a full cross-section of the channel, as well as equations of a continuity, motion, and energy. Over 100 such models are known, often using simplified equations. The slide shows only the basis equations. A closed system contains, on average, approximately 60 different formulas. The difficulty lies in determining key two-phase flow parameters, such as volumetric steam quality and shear stress on the wall. For this purpose, empirical formulas derived for specific two-phase flow conditions are used. However, there are no experiments corresponding to well-bore flow for well conditions.
In 1987, Alexander Nikolaevich Sholupin and Alla Anatolievna Chermashentseva created a model that we later called Well 1. In this based on the same equations for the steam water section, two flows regimes were introduced: low quality steam, including bubble and slug structures, and high quality steam, annual mist structure. To test the model, experiments were conducted in the well at the Pauzhetskaya field. It is situated on Kamchatka too, allowing the average pressure gradient in the steam water section on the determinate. First, a device was lowered into non-working well on a cable, and the well was energized, and necessary operating mode was set, and either resistivimetry was performed to determine the depth for the evaporation initiation level of thermometry of the water section. A total of 4 wells were tested, and 12 gradients were determined for various conditions. A comparisons of the experimental and calculated pressure gradients according to the model showed an average discrepancy of 8%. Moreover, it was found that the variations of the mixture enthalpy within the error limits of the practical determination in the calculation allows agreement with the experimental data. Consequently, refining the model is pointless without the more accurate determination of the initial data, primarily in the mixture enthalpy. The well 1 model was designed for the wells at the Pauzhetskaya field, but the wells at the Mutnovsky field are deeper and characterized by bottom hole temperatures approximately 300 versus 190 of Celsius. To justify the reconstruction of the A2 wells at the Mutnovsky field, we developed the well 4 model for a few years ago. The model refined the equations of a state to account for high temperatures, added transit flow regime, and adopted more substantive criteria for the transportation to a disparate annual structure. A transient regime were defended at where those criteria were not met, but the steam velocity exceeds the critical velocity of saturated water. A forecast using this model demonstrated the feasibility of well reconstruction. After reconstruction, the predicted effect was finally confirmed. Well construction technologies have changed significantly over the past years. Directional drilling is widely used, making it possible to access the productivity of individual productive zones. Taking these new conditions into account, we developed the modification of the well 4 model presented on this slide. All programs implement the basis model, and its modification has received certification from Rospatent. Most of the operating pipelines at the Mutnovsky geothermal fields were calculated using the model computer program developed by Alexander Nikolaevich Sholupin and Alla Anatolievna Chermashentseva. However, the mathematical model underlying this program doesn't take into account the gravitation component of the pressure drop, and it's designed for a narrow range of the flow velocities, which precludes its use at low velocities, which is increasingly encountered in practice. All these conditions were taken into account in the development of the new SWIP-S mathematic model. And I want to say that this model was a heart of my PhD dissertation. The characterized flow stability in the process model, a stability index is calculated. And in this formula, A is the stability index, P is the internal pressure drop in the pipeline, and G is the mass flow rate of mixture. A negative value of this index indicates the presence of conditions for the development of gravitational instability. And using the SWIP-S computer program, a study was conducted on the influence of such factors on the stability indexes, the angle of pipeline, the topography of the route, and the location of local resistance. A typical pipeline at the Mutnovsky field was used as a study object. The pipeline has the following characteristic: mixture enthalpy ends 1,200 kilojoules per kilogram. Noodle pressure is 7.5, and pipeline length is 100 meters, and the diameter is 0.4 meters. Based on calculation taking into account the influence of the pipeline inclination, it was determined that instability occurs not only for scanning flows, but also in the scanning flows. Furthermore, the minimum velocity requires to the entry flow stability in the scanning flows variations depending in inclination angle. Speaking about the development of the geothermal energy in Russia, it should be noted that there is no narrowly focused field of research. Because the sites are located far from urban infrastructure, work on site requires heavy physical labor, and there are no education programs in this field. The majority of the workforce is male. However, the last two women scientific are currently researching geothermal fields. One of these is Alla Anatolievna Chimoshentseva. She's on the photo, a doctor of engineering science. Based in Kamchatka, her primary job is a professor in the Department of Physics and High Mathematics in Kamchatka State Technical University. Alla Anatolievna has been working on this field for the past 30 years, successfully combining teaching and research. And of course, this me. I began working on this field just in 1218 and continue to work on these issues for these days. We have visited Mutnovsky geothermal fields and on numerous accounts and activity collaborate with the renewable energy branch of Kamchatsk-Energo. And in conclusion, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Association of Academies and Societies of Science in Asia and Korean Academy of Science and Technology, and dear So-Young Sohn for her tremendous works in organization of this program, and dear Se-Young Park for her content support and assistance from affair. And sorry if I'm reading because my speaking English not so well, that's why. But this is from my heart. And to all wonderful ladies of a special committee of women in science and engineering who have become a very close and dear to my heart since our last meeting from Tokyo. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Natalie. In order to control time, let's really go for the just next talk, okay? If you don't mind. Bushira Atik will be our next speaker. She is the professor at the IIT Kanpur, and she represents INSA, Indian National Science Academy.
So I know everyone is very tired by the end of the day, but let me start by expressing my gratitude to Professor So-Young and AASSA as well as KAST for giving me this opportunity to present this work. So this is just to give you a brief introduction about my career trajectory. So I did my entire education pretty much after my high school at Aligarh Muslim University, and after that spent some time at New Delhi to work on cancer, and eventually moved to McGill in Montreal, Canada. I was there for 2.5 years working on prostate and breast cancer, and eventually then moved to University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. And 2013, I started my own lab at Indian Institute of Technology, where I'm currently professor and also Dean of International Relations. Just to highlight here, IIT Kanpur is around like 67 years old institution, which was after independence, there were 5 IITs were established. And I'm the second women dean so far, like in like around such a long period. So my laboratory focuses on like 3 different cancer: prostate, colorectal, and breast cancer. And we try to understand what are the changes at the DNA level which are bringing the cancer like too aggressive. What are the different molecular subtypes, and how we can treat these subtypes by using specific inhibitor or drugs which will target the specific pathways. Um, so these are some landmark discovery from our group. One of the initial screen was like in breast cancer, where we look for the AGTR1 and ACE gene. There was a polymorphism, and we connected how the women who are having changes in the AGTR1 and ACE, they are more predisposed to breast cancer. Likewise, we also evaluated the role of 2 microRNA in one of the very aggressive subtype of prostate cancer. And also we kind of showed that the anti-androgen drug which are giving to prostate cancer patient are detrimental to this patient. Eventually, there is a need to come up with this alternative strategy to treat these men. Then also a new marker we discovered from our lab, that is RELEX1, and we have shown how BET inhibitor could be used for this men. Recently, we published a report a paper where we worked on colorectal cancer, and we have shown DKC1 is high in the patient who develop resistance to Folfox, which is a drug given to colorectal cancer patient. And we also identified a biomarker which will help us to identify this patient, which is a blood-based non-invasive biomarker, and also came up with the alternative strategies to treat the colorectal cancer patients. So again, like these are like some of the students which I have so far graduated. They are mainly all PhD students. So some of them, they are like doing very well in their own field, and 1 or 2 students, they also joined industry, not only academia. One student and most of these students, if you look at them, like they are the first one to obtain PhD in their family, and they're doing very well. So it feels very somewhere you are contributing to the society. Now coming to the cancer incidence and the burden. So if you see India, according to WHO, approximately 70% cancer, they occur in the LMIC, which is low and middle income countries. And India, if you see, there are around major cancer type in India, which people are suffering from, is oral, followed by breast, colorectal cancer, and prostate cancer is also picking up. The reason is because there is an increase in the age expectancy. So this is a map of India, and you can see how based on incidence, you can see the different hues. And I am somewhere here in Uttar Pradesh, which is the northern part near New Delhi. And the incidence is pretty high. And some pockets of the India, for example, there's northeast, you see certain cancers such as colorectal cancer, which are very high. And mainly if you see in 2020 report, around the tobacco-related cancer, which is oral, as well as lung cancer, are very high. And in another 6 to 4 years, 2030, you see 26% jump in these cancers. So what is precision medicine about? The UN definition is you come up with the medicine which uses the information of a person's genome. It could be genes, protein, metabolites, and the environment to prevent the cancer, diagnose, and treat the disease. And if you see, there's a huge market. There's a CGTR of 16.3%, which is going to go from 2024 to 2030. And India is again at the forefront of this discovery, because significant government initiative and collaboration with the global biotech company have been set up. And genomics is again shaping up because of the clinical diagnosis and personalized medicine, allowing the rapid and effective analysis of genomic data, as well as coming up with a panel which could help identification of the different subtypes. So far there was no specified, I think till 2016, there was no established genome sequencing program, but the Genome India flagship program, where they sequence 10,000 genome of the healthy individual, has been revolutionizing the personalized medicine, especially because so far whatever the gene data or genomics data have been generated from India, they have been comparing that with the Caucasian population, because they have this TCGA data set, and which was used as a benchmark. So this is a TCGA data, which is like pan cancer, all different kind of cancer. It's a compendium of different cancer genomic data. And it was launched in 2005, and you can compare India, it's lagging much behind. But the good thing is we started our own Indian Cancer Genome Atlas, which is picking up. So the idea is to categorize all the cancer, put in the compendium, and then compare like how each individual's gene alteration is different. Because if you compare with the Caucasian population, you may miss out some of the variants which may be very specific to Caucasian population than in the Indian population. So Genome India project, as I told you, like again, it's going to identify like what are the genetic changes or mutation which underlie many diseases, including cancer. And we believe that deciphering the changes at the DNA level, whether it's somatic, which patient is or person is acquiring during their lifetime, or it could be the heritable changes. So you can tell which person is having higher risk to develop cancer. So this is one study published in 2021 where they first time analyzed some 1,000 genome of healthy Indian, and if you see here, they compared with Genomet, the other population, Caucasian population, the European population. What they found was very astounding that around 37% of the SNP, which is single nucleotide polymorphism, is very unique to Indian cohort, which again underline or underscore the importance of genomic characterization of the healthy individual as well as the disease condition, so that proper precision medicine could be applied. So when I started my own lab, since my work is based on cancer, there was no established genomic characterization for prostate cancer. So this was our first paper from India where we characterize prostate cancer patient and we see where they stand, because it's going to help in deciding a treatment, also the fate of disease and how they're going to respond to different therapies. So if you see, we collaborated with 4 different hospitals, collected some sample. And if you look at this tissue biopsy, it's a prostate cancer biopsy. So this particular patient is positive for this fusion. The red and green, they are apart. So it's showing there is a genetic rearrangement. And mainly, we kind of characterize for all the major drivers which are listed here. And we found this gene fusion, which is TMPRSS2, is like around 49%. So when we compare this data with the other populations, such as Caucasian population and Asian, so Asian here is basically Chinese and the Japanese population. So we see vast differences. For example, the TMPRSS2, you see like 49% in Indian cohort, whereas the same gene fusion was much lower in the Asian prostate cancer cohort. Likewise, some other alterations such as SPING and RAF, they show much differences. So therefore, it's very important for each and every country or to come up with their own genomic data and see what are the prevalences of this alteration. For example, if you look into the African American Black and the Caucasian Black or Asian patient, they show different frequency of this gene fusion, which again underline like how they are treated. So they shouldn't be treated at the same way. They should be first characterize which subtype they belong, and then the treatment should be given to these patients. So this is one major paper from US, which is like basis of the TCGA genomic cancer atlas. And if you see, there are major different molecular subtypes. So again, so far people in India as well as other countries, they have been following this, these are the molecular subtypes. So, but so far there is no genomic landscape or characterization is available for Indian prostate cancer cohort. So therefore, we started our own characterization of these patients. So we again collaborated with these institutions which are nearby my host institute. And we collected the matched blood sample as well as tissue biopsies, set up our own pipeline, bioinformatic pipeline, which is going to tell us what are the changes at the gene level and how these changes are different, whether they are somatic, they acquire during their lifetime, or they are genetic, or there are germline alteration, because it's going to tell the abnormality in the gene runs into the family and what is the risk factor for these patients. So when we analyze this data, we found 80% of the alteration are somatic, which means the person acquired during their lifetime. And these are mainly missense mutation, which are more serious. And then we also see in the genome, in the DNA, you have 80 GCs. So C, we are seeing C is more converting to T, which is known as transition event. And mainly this is related to old age. So all cancer which are related to old age often show this signature, which is C to T transition. Then we are also asked what are the mutational signature which are enriched in this our cohort, the prostate cancer cohort, and we found certain signature which are more enriched. For example, we see SBS5, which is showing more mutational burden because of the tobacco smoking, which could be prevalent in the patient, irrespective of the cancer type, if they're more smoking and they're using tobacco. Then SBS6, we found that it shows more DNA mismatch repair abnormality, and it's found in microsatellite unstable tumors. So again, this subtype is showing like the patient who have mismatch repair defect, they could benefit by certain drugs, for example, PARP inhibitor, like which is used for the patient who have BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutation. Also SBS1, which is a deamination of 5-methylcytosine to thymine. Again, this correlates to old age, as I told you. So these are the signatures that we found in our cohort. So we asked like what are the top 50 genes like which are altered in our cohort of prostate cancer, and we found like some 1,000 genes. Some of these genes are common to Caucasian cohort, but some unique genes were also discovered which are very unique to Indian cohort. And now currently we are developing a gene panel which will be used for diagnostic. So then the most important thing is when we talk about precision medicine to identify what are the clinically actionable aberration and what are the biological pathways or pathways which are more active in cancer. If we recognize this pathway, then it's easy to tailor the treatment based on the pathway. So we found around 42% of these patients, they show mutation in the gene which are involved in either RAS pathway or PI3 kinase pathway. And most of these mutations are novel in nature for this cohort. But again, if you know these pathways are activated based on the mutation, then you know which inhibitor or which drug will work for this patient. So that is a important thing. So that is underlying basis why you need to characterize the patient based on the genomic alteration or epigenetic alteration. So here we found one abnormality, which is P34R, which is a missense mutation in RAC1. So currently, some of my students, they are doing the in-depth characterization for this mutation. So this is like schematic, which is showing like what are the actionable genomic alterations. So when I say actionable, what are the gene level changes where you can use a specific drug? For example, this is the mismatch repair alteration, and you see microsatellite instability. So you can use some of these immune checkpoint inhibitors for this subset. If you see mutation in BRCA1 and BRCA2 gene, which is again relying on the DNA double-strand DNA repair mechanism, so you could inhibit the PARP, which is an alternate pathway for repairing the DNA. So again, if you identify for this mutation and the patient are positive, then you could use PARP inhibitor, and likewise CDK12 alteration. Again, because of CDK12 alteration, for example, here in our cohort, we found around 12% of the patients who have deletion or biallelic inactivation in CDK12. You can see here some of these mutation mentioned here. So you see genome-wide, like these black spot are showing chromosomes. So you see genome-wide, there's a tandem duplication. There's these small stretches which are duplicated. So again, if you identify patients who are positive for alteration, for example, in CDK12, you know what kind of inhibitor could be used for these specific patients. And again, like currently the lab is focusing on the specific mutation that we found and how we could understand what biological pathway they're involved in and what kind of inhibitor we could use. So again, like when you have this kind of data, you can also use some of these drug gene interaction database. You can put what are the alteration and gene mutation that you found, what pathways were involved in, and then you can see what are the specific inhibitor could be effective against these specific subtype. For example, CDK12, I told you, you can use olaparib, or you can use roniciclib, likewise. So again, that is a reason why it's very important to do the genomic characterization and then use the program to see the drug gene interaction and what drugs could be effective against this patient. Now coming to the AI, like how the field is moving and how like so many field like they adopting AI. So what are the AI methods for cancer research? Again, you can use AI, which is a deep learning method to predict the drug response based on person's cancer genome sequence. You can also do the deep learning, which is like, you provide the raw data and then it could be trained, it could be annotated based on the information you provide. The field could be like, revolutionizing because of the bioimaging, which is like, again, most of the hospital, even in India, like the histopathology slides are like huge number of slides lying there and the pathologists are like overwhelmed with the specimen. So you can apply AI and draw like a conclusive decision or conclusive outcome for many biopsies. Also, deep learning algorithm could be provided to identify what are the nuclear abnormalities and how the cell look like in cancer, and can we use this algorithm to identify for diagnosis purposes, like at very early stage, can we diagnose cancer by applying AI and by using this deep learning algorithms. So this is one example how a prospective clinical study could be changing. It could be a game changer for omics studies. So when you have all the omics data, you can use omics data to match the you can look for the gene and drug interaction and come up with some of the off-label targets. And then so again, the bottom line is how you can change the tumor board in these medical institution. The medical institution tumor board should be multidisciplinary, which could understand the AI as well as bioinformatic pipeline. And again, there should be very healthy and more active crosstalk between the bioinformatics chemist as well as the clinician or medical oncologist to adopt AI. So again, artificial intelligence for a data-driven cancer diagnosis, if you see, it depends on the training and the tuning and the testing. So again, like the ImageNet pre-trained network could be used, and based on that, you could do the diagnosis. So again, it's not foolproof. Sometimes you may see like some of the false negative or false positive. So you need to again retrain the data with much larger cohort so that such mistakes could be avoided. So again, like the AI framework in cancer diagnosis is depending on the CNN, which is like convolutional neural network, to detect the presence of cancer cells from the diagnostic image. And once you have this kind of data, you could also see which drug or which immunotherapy could work for these patients. So again, what are the challenges in the big data in healthcare? One of the challenges is like we don't have sufficient data because sequencing cost is high. So once we need to have a large scale of data for countries like India, and then once you have data, you could use the data to train the data set. You can have more active communication between the AI expert and the clinician. Also, processing big data involves a lot of resources. You need like a huge servers and the storage devices. So that is another bottleneck. And finally, you also need to come up with the data security policy, because it's not only about generating data. Eventually, you need to make sure that there is no theft or not damage by the cyber crime for healthcare data. So from my own lab, we are the first one to do the molecular characterization of the prostate cancer patient, and it's going to help us. It is going to give a comprehensive landscape of contributing genetic and epigenetic alteration which are prevalent in prostate cancer patient from India, which will be instrumental in subtyping this patient and see which patient will benefit by which drug. Also, we are also coming up with a targeted gene set, which is like comprising a diagnostic marker as well as druggable alteration. So this will be the custom gene panel, which will be used as a prototype for clinical testing. So again, I'm thankful to my collaborators, which are mainly from the medical institution, all the former students from my lab who have contributed a lot, like in the formative years, and still this is the current member of the lab who are like actively involved in these projects. So thank you so much. Happy to take a question.
Thank you, Bushra. I can see that Professor Lee has so many questions, but maybe we can discuss it over the dinner, right? Okay. Now, Suchana has a flight to catch, so go for it. It's good. Yeah. She is going to make a last presentation of our symposium. Okay. Finally.
So,
she's a professor of marine science at Chulalongkorn University, and she represents SST.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for bearing with me. So, anyway, you're already on the land. So, last talk, I will get you dive into the ocean with me. Okay. So today, I would like to share with you about right now the current status of the coral reef and how we try to do to restore the coral, particularly in the case of Thailand, and not just only doing by scientists or scientific communities, but engagement the local people, including empowering women, the local people, is very important. I will give you an example. So as we all know that right now, unfortunately, the oceans, particular coral reef, have been declined due to these three factors: climate change, overexploitations, pollutions, and as you can see that actually in order to conserve any nature and natural resources, we need at least three parts: scientific innovation, policy engagement, and strong community participations. But unfortunately, in many countries, including Thailand, we always do it separately, or like a pillar, one pillar, one pillar. But if we could, combine it together, that we will be able to meet the goal. But unfortunately, right now, it's still, in one of the pillar. So in case of Thailand, as you can see that we have both sides, one in the Gulf of Thailand and in the Andaman Sea. And on the red color, you can see that all the area that we have a coral reef. And I'm not sure whether you know or not, scientists have predicted that in the next 30 years, I'm not sure in the next 30 years how old we're going to be. In the next 30 years, if we not do anything, more than 90% of the coral reef around the world will be disappear. 90% of the coral reef will be disappear, which is very, I think, very hard situation. So first, I would like to give you an example of scientific innovation that right now, what we try to do to save the coral. So, well, in the past, we usually doing active way. For example, I will show you later, but using artificial reef or biological methodologies like asexual and sexuals. But now we improve to get more a little bit sophisticated. So using the microbial, be like the helper to help restore coral, and also not just all like that. We know that climate change now going on. So the populations of the baby coral that we produce have to be able to withstand to all this climate change too. So as I just mentioned, in the past, you probably heard a lot about the artificial reef, right? You put concrete, you put boat, a car, whatever in the oceans, and then let the coral grow. And also people start to do, what happened is that asexual propagation. So you bring one coral and then break into pieces and restore it. So you can get, a higher population, high number of the coral. But as we all know here, that asexual propagation is very good, very not really costly, and you don't have to think a lot. But what happened is that all the baby coral that you produce have a low genetic diversity. And recently, in the past 5 years, what we're doing, particularly in Thailand, is that we start doing the sexual propagation of correct egg and sperm of the coral, and then artificialize it, and then raise them for a certain year. But for Thailand, we have to raise in the hatchery for 2 years before we release them back into the oceans. So this is how we're doing. And actually, I think I am proud to present that we are the first group in Thailand to succeed in coral using sexual propagation techniques. And right now, for Thailand, we are the only group in Thailand. And I think maybe I could claim only group in Southeast Asia that do a mass coral culture using sexual propagation. So in our hatchery, we can, produce more than 5,000 coral colonies. In other area, actually they do the same thing, but it's much smaller scale, and a lot of time it's just in the laboratory. And right now, this picture to show, and we found out that for our baby coral, after they become a 5-year-old to 2 years in hatchery and 3 years in ocean. So after 5 years, they become a parent's colony. They can be able to produce again. So actually now I'm not only the mother of the coral, but also a grandma, already have many grandchildren. And not just only on that, the things that also we try to move into the next step, you probably heard about cryopreservation. Cryopreservation do a lot with the humans, with the, a cat and dog. And now we try to do for the coral. In Thailand, we already succeed in the sperm cryopreservation. And I think around the world succeed in sperm. But right now, no one really succeed in the egg yet. Eggs are cryopreservation. If we can be able to do both, then hopefully in the future, we will have a less worry about the coral restoration, and if they're not spawning or producing eggs. So, as I mentioned to you earlier, now when we're talking about the coral restoration, we're not just only talking about, increase the number, but we have to make sure that, somehow we have to enhance those baby coral to be able to resilient to the climate change, to the global warming and temperature. So the next thing that I would like to show you is that, as I mentioned earlier, scientific, methodology is good, but then we cannot do it by our own. We need the community because 90% of the population, there's, people is not scientists. So somehow for this reef restoration, we have to get them involved. And this is one of the projects on coral restoration and conservation under the UNESCO Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission that I'm a leader of it. So we're doing the awareness. It's not just only for scientists, transfer the technologies, but we also try to work with the local people, teach them how to do it, how to take care of it. And this is just an example of the activity that we work with the private sector, the government sector, to promote the coral conservation and restorations. And this is also activities we're doing. So as you can see that, we involve with the scientists, with the global people, but the important part of the stakeholder is the youth. So actually, right now, I think every week we have the camp for the youth people, particularly for the local people, from all over the place in Thailand, northern, southern, to come to our area actually to learn about how we could restore coral and let them do it, and so that they can go back to their own area and be able to start to do it. And also, since we're talking about the women in science, empowering. Oh, how come it changed with okay. So anyway, the other things that we realize is that unfortunately, not just only scientific communities, but also the local communities, many areas still have a man as a leader. So right now, what we try to do is that when we doing awareness, so we not just only emphasize just only the local, but we also try to emphasize the women in the village, in the area too. And why is very important? I think marine scientists is the same as other science area that you just show. But for me, I think when we're talking about the oceans, when women work, with the oceans and marines, we're not just only in the lab, but we in the field. So the toughness, the field work that make a woman a little bit behind men, and you could see it there. 14 times, so it means that women and children 14 times more likely to die compared to the men in the natural disaster like the oceans. And 64%, what it means is that 64% they're likely to have less salary, 64% less than men if they work on the ocean, on the fishery. And for the become a sea farmer, just only 2% out of 100 that consider the women. And for the parliaments or the policies, even though I'm a marine scientist right now, it's just 38%, a little bit higher. Okay, even though right now the women get to involve more in the oceans, in terms of the local people or become a fishermen. But what happened is that there's still some things that you can see that they largely concentrate on the low skill, low paid job and irregular seasonal employment. So this is what happens actually not just only in Thailand but all around the world related to the fisheries, to the ocean jobs. And you probably know that I did mention this earlier, is that unfortunately, because of the working in the field, in the oceans is quite tough. So it's not surprised that in the past 20 years, the job we advertise, the men only, men prefer, even though it's not allowed to advertise like this. But still, we have interview coming both men and women. Likely the men that will get selected, not surprising, particularly if that job have to work related to the, go out to the ocean on the big ships, on the oil platform, something like that. And not just only on that, also sexual harassment in marine science also occurring right now. It's not occurring in the lab or in the meeting much, but usually it's happened is that during the field work, which is we not survive because overwork is, always go into the field, into the oceans. So what we try to do right now is that we try to empowering women to get more women to come to participate in our activities, learning about the coral restorations, and educate them both from the private sector and also from the local people. And this is an example. And also, this is an example that, how we have been, I think a little bit more success is that we can see now that more people get involved with the coral restoration, and not just more people, but women's engaged more. And you can see that we did our plans so many coral, but more than 700 plus coral have been transplanted just only from the women, okay? And 250 more artificial reef structure have been deployed by the women, okay? And when we are talking about restorations, okay, we're not just only talking about the coral, but we have to make sure that we get rid of the pollutants. So, and this is example of the number that 95 kilograms of the waste have been removed by the women, by the local women. Okay. So, as I did share with you is that when we're talking about the coral restoration in SDG 14, so we have to have three components together: scientific innovation, community actions, and women in the STEM, in order to be able to scale up, not just only scale up in terms of restorations in the nature, but to scale up for the policy relevant impact too. And last but not least, I would like to say that by perfectly aligning innovation, capacity building, and inclusive leaderships, modern coral reef restoration right now is going to be more powerful, more actionable blueprints. We need to work together and empowering more local people, particularly more local women, people to come and engage it. And actually, I think I showed you, but I didn't mention. So we have this survey, and we found that in the village, most of the village, when we compare between the number of women and men, usually the women is the number is higher, probably about 60%, 64%, while the men population is a little bit, lower. So anyway, I think I'm on time, right? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Suchana. Before officially close our symposium, I'd like to thank you all for joining and contributing to a very important dialogue on women's leadership in science and engineering in terms of advancing SDGs. My deepest gratitude goes to all of you who made this symposium possible. And let's finish it by giving a round of applause to ourselves, especially to Sohn, who had all the hard work in a very intelligent manner. Thank you, Sohn.